Our reading today is called Widening Our Welcome by Jonathan Chapman. Recently, I ordered a 4-foot-tall rainbow bunnies for my church. Just after I hit order, I wondered why we really needed them. Later that day, one of my parishioners sent me a picture taken in front of a local church. On the lawn was an enormous banner with a picture of the Holy Family and the message, God's marriage equals one man plus one woman. Often people ask me why my church constantly hangs banners welcoming folks, particularly the LGBTQ community. They wonder why we're always lugging out our rainbows. This is why. Because you see, every church says everyone is welcome, but many of them make that a conditional welcome. You're welcome, but not your relationship, or who you love, or how you look, or how you think, or how you believe. Most churches don't put up banners like the one I saw, but many aren't far off from sharing the same sentiment. Listen, people can think what they want and believe what they want. I don't have to agree with everyone, and they don't have to agree with me. But as long as there are congregations willing to limit God's welcome, ours will work hard to widen that welcome. And as long as there are churchgoers who question the depth of God's love, we will keep hoisting our banners and hauling our doors that proclaim its breadth. The truth is that we will fall short, and we do. But we keep trying because, you see, there are people in the world who wonder if God could really love them, if God could love them despite who they love. And in case that's you, yes, there's no despite about it. God could love you, God does love you, and so does this church. So today I'm talking about LGBTQ history and Unitarian Universalists. And I know for me, my UU values have always resonated with who I am as a gay woman. I know that's kind of a biased opinion, but the UUA and other Unitarian Universalists have shown that they also resonate with equality for everybody. So I wanted to start with these words from Hannah Roberts-Willing called A Protest on a Party, because part of the history of LGBTQ issues includes the history of pride events. This is called A Protest and a Party. People sometimes ask, is pride a protest or a party? And the answer is, of course, yes. And why not? Why not rejoice as we resist, dance as we demand change, celebrate as we create community that delights in all of who we are? So bring all of that with you this morning. Bring your policy demands, bring your glitter, bring your Supreme Court broken heart, bring your rainbow socks. The other side. Bring the emptiness you feel for our siblings gone too soon. Bring your Gloria Estefan remix, bring your tender hope for change, bring your most garish eyeshadow, bring your spirit tattered and battered by a world that seems insistent on choosing fear and hate. Gather up all these things and bring them here to a place where we don't have to shoulder these burdens or celebrate these joys alone. So earlier you heard the story about the rainbow flag, and like many things, the story continues. Something that's happened with that recently is started in Philadelphia as a campaign called More Color, More Pride. And it's adding black and brown stripes to the top of the flag to represent LGBTQ individuals of color, a group that can often be overlooked within the overall LGBTQ umbrella. I don't know how much that will take off, but I think that it's something worth acknowledging. So just a note about language, since this seems to be constantly changing also. The introduction to the book, Coming Out in Faith, Voices of LGBTQ and Unitarians and Universalists, gives some words of wisdom about navigating appropriate terminology relating to LGBTQ individuals or groups. And it says, listening to how they refer to themselves is a great start. So listening is an important part, and we don't want evolving language and terminology to keep people silent. Honest and respectful intent and conversation is what's really important. So the variety of identities that in what was once known simply as the gay community has expanded exponentially. The acronyms used now include a variety of shorthand combinations of letters like A, which can mean ally or asexual, B for bisexual, G for gay, I for intersex, L for lesbian, T for transgender, and Q for queer or questioning. A few years ago, LGBT was what you saw most frequently, but now LGBTQ and LGBTQ+ are becoming even more common. So you may ask why we celebrate Pride in June. Of course, this is July, but the end of June is the traditional. The tradition started in commemoration of the Stonewall riots. So on a night in June in 1969, which started just as any other hot summer evening in New York's Greenwich Village, there was another police raid on another bar. These raids were common at the time and were conducted regularly with little or no resistance. As fearful bar patrons were physically forced out of their gathering places, sometimes beaten, often arrested, with no real just cause. But this particular raid was the last straw. Things changed that night, and for the first time on record, the patrons fought back, and they fought back with everything they had. All of the frustrations accumulated over the years were let loose. Reports are that the fighting continued for several days. The date was June 27, 1969, and the bar was the Stonewall Inn. And it was the bar where most of the patrons were gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender. That night, the bar patrons, which included many transgender people and people of color, fought back against police harassment and made history by saying no to intolerance and yes to empowerment. The Stonewall patrons, and over the days many, many others from the neighborhood, refused to be treated as second-class citizens anymore. And why is this significant? Because this riot was a turning point in history. It is generally considered to be the real beginning of the gay rights movement, a major milestone in the quest for civil rights, equality, justice, and liberation throughout the country and throughout the world. The first Pride parades were held a year later on June 27th and 28th in several cities, including New York, San Francisco, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And these parades were called things like Gay Liberation and gay freedom. In the 1980s, they lost their liberation type of titles and became known as gay pride celebrations. And more recently, we call them just pride or LGBTQ pride. These days, pride is not just about commemorating the Stonewall riots, it's also about celebrating life today. Perhaps the words of Dr. Franklin Kamini, a gay rights activist who was fired in 1957 from his federal job for being gay, thus summarizes what gay pride and the search for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender emancipation are all about. He said, "It is a time to open the closet door and let the sun shine. It is a time to doff off and discard the secrecy, the disguise, and the camouflage. It is a time to hold up your heads and to look the world squarely in the eyes as the homosexuals that you are, confident in your equality, confident in the knowledge as objects of prejudice and victims of discrimination. You are right and they are wrong. And confident of the rightness of what you are and of the goodness of what you do. It is time to live your life fully, joyously, openly, and proudly, assured that morally, socially, physically, psychologically, emotionally, and in every other way, gay is good." It is. For myself, going to Pride celebrations, I am energized